Here we're going to be looking about adding and subtracting fractions. So if we start off with 5/8 and we want to take away 3/8, that's like saying if we are at the point 5/8 along the number line, we're going to go back 3/8 and see where we end up on the number line. So to do this, we need to get our number line and divide up between each whole number, 0 and 1, 1 and 2, etc., into 8 equal pieces because we're talking about eighths. So we're starting at 5/8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8, and we go back 3/8, 1, 2, 3, and where do we end up? We end up at 2/8. Therefore, 5/8, go back 3/8, leaves us at 2/8. And you can see what's happened here. We have the same size fraction, they're both eighths. So we could say that we have the same size fraction, they're both eighths, and we have to 5/8, take away the 3/8 is going to give us 2/8. So in this case, we're going to have 4/7, add another 6/7. So we can draw our number line, and this time we need to divide it up into sevenths. So when we're going between 0 and 1, we need 7 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That gives us 1 whole. Once our number line has been divided up into sevenths, we can say we're going to start at 4/7. 1, 2, 3, 4/7, and we're going to move forward or add on. When we add on, we go to the right, another 6/7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Also, we're going to go 6/7, and let's see where we end up on the number line. So we had 4, another 6 makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, makes 10/7. And there's an answer as an improper fraction. Let's now change it to a mixed number. So that's going to say like 10 divided by 7. Remember, this line means divided by. So we're going to do a division. How many times does 7 go into 10? It goes in once and makes 7, and that means there's a remainder 3. So that's 1 and 3. We were dividing by 7. So it's 1 and 3/7, and we can see that clearly on the number line anyway, because to get to here, you need to go along 1, and then there's another 3/7. So if we're going to add together 4/7 plus 6/7, we know that we've got a number of sevenths, and we started at 4, we add another 6 together, and that's going to give us 10/7. And then we change it to our mixed number, 1 and 3/7. In this case, we want to start with 3/5. So if we draw our number line, and between 0 and 1 we divide it into 5 equal parts, we can go along to 3/5. So this is 1/5, 2/5, 3/5. So that's 3/5. That's 3 out of the 5. But we want to take off a half. Now the problem is that our number line isn't divided into halves. So we really need to get in a halfway here. And so what we're going to have to do with each of those fifths, we're going to have to divide them into 2. So a half is here. So we've got 3/5 and take away a half. And so what we're going to have to do now is to actually be able to do that, we're going to have to divide each of those again. And what you'll find is that once each of those is divided again, we have 10 pieces. So 3/5 can be written as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6/10, and 1/2 can be written as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5/10. And now we have the same size fraction, so we have 6/10, and we're going to take away 5/10. And so that's possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's going back 5, is going to leave us with 1/10. So that's tenths. 6 take away 5 is going to give us 1/10. Let's look at this slightly different way. We have 3/4. So in other words, if our 1 whole is divided into 4 pieces, we want to use 3 of them. But we also have to deal with fifths, 2/5. So we need to have our number line divided into 5 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to have 1 whole looking something like that so that we can divide it into quarters, and we can also divide it into fifths. So if this is our 1 whole, so let's draw another one here. So it's quarters across here and fifths down here. That means now we can actually represent 3/4, and we can also represent 2/5 as the same part of 1 whole. So 3/4 would be going down here. So the whole of that block is divided into 4 equal parts, quarters, of which we need 3. And 2/5 can be worked out like this. So in other words, if we divide the block this way, so it's divided into 5th, and we need 2/5, so we need 2 of these. Now, how big is one of these little blocks? In this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We have 15 blocks out of a total of 20 blocks. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 blocks out of a total 20 blocks. And what you can see is that we've written an equivalent fraction. So what we've seen is that one side was by 4 and the other was by 5. So in other words, we could rewrite our fractions 3/4 as an equivalent fraction in 20ths. 4 times 5 makes 20, so 3 times 5 makes 15. 3/4 is the same as 15 out of 20. And in the second instance, 2/5 can also be written as an equivalent fraction out of 20. 5 is multiplied by 4 to make 20, so to get the equivalent fraction, 2 is multiplied by 4 as well, so that makes 8 out of 20. So now we can add together how many of these little 20ths have we got. So there's one of our 20ths, and altogether we've got 15 20ths, which was the 3/4, and then we're going to add another 8 20ths, which was the 2/5, and they're the same size pieces. So how many of those little blocks have we got? 15 plus 8 is now going to give us 23 20ths, which we can rewrite as 1 whole and 3 20ths. Now the way that works is if we start to move these blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, so these 4 can start to fill in this hole, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have one of these is going to move over to fill in, and that's going to leave us with these extra 3, which can't fill in that block. This is 1 whole now, that's 1 whole, and we're left with just 3 out of the other block, so 3 20ths. So that is a visual way of looking at 1 and 3 20ths.